Greetings, pet lovers. Bridget here with First Street Pets, and today we're going to talk about finding Onion. This video is part 2 in my new series, Happy Endings in Lost Pet Recovery. And the purpose of these videos is to give people hope who are out there looking for their missing pet to know that no matter what the circumstances, no matter how much time has passed, there is still a chance that you can bring home your beloved missing pet. This is a story thanks to Kim Freeman of Lost Cat Finder. She is a pet detective that I highly recommend. I will link her website in the description. She offers individualized services for pet owners, and she also has a book and a video that you can purchase. I will start by reading her intro from her website where she says, "Wow, this is maybe the most unbelievable lost and found cat case I've ever had. I don't think this kitty would ever have been found without my help, especially with the challenges of searching during the coronavirus lockdown." So according to the story, Onion got out when her owner came home with the groceries, as we all do with our arms full. You're fumbling with keys in the door. Onion slipped out the door and took off. And her owner chased her down the street some distance, was unable to catch her, and she disappeared. She was last seen in a parking lot, and they couldn't find her in the parking lot or under any of the cars. So they kind of assumed that she had run into the vacant lot next door because there was a chain link fence there with a gap underneath. So they thought that would kind of be a good place for her to go. They searched for her for 2 weeks without any luck. And then someone referred them to Lost Cat Finder, and they reached out to her for help, and she gave it to them. So one of the biggest tools in lost pet recovery is, as you've seen in my other videos, the posters, the good quality posters. So Kim coached them on how to make these posters and distribute them, which they did, but unfortunately they still weren't getting any leads. So Onion was not being seen by anybody. And people were being negative and telling them to give up. And that just drives me crazy when people do that. It's no one's business to tell you how long and how you should look for your pet. I don't know why people do that, but they do. So they continued looking for Onion, but they weren't getting any leads from the posters. So when Kim does a consult, she utilizes Google Earth, which is a great tool we have today. And she uses her knowledge and experience to kind of try to figure out what are the most likely places where cats will go. And there's some generalized things that cats will do and also individual to that cat and to that particular location. So she did a consult with them. They went over the map to think about good places where they needed to look. And one of the first things that they were advised to do was to see, since she went missing in a public parking lot, if there was some security camera footage. So with this knowledge, they went into the stores there that had security cameras out in front of their doors and asked them if they could see the footage. But unfortunately, they would not. And I understand where they're coming from. I know a lot of businesses can't release that information unless it's for internal use or for law enforcement. And even for law enforcement, sometimes they have to get a subpoena. So it can be challenging. However, hidden camera footage can be given to you by homeowners who are not experiencing the liability that a business may. And so if your pet goes missing near a home, everybody has cameras now, it can be a good idea to ask them to check your footage. But unfortunately, that's not something that they were able to do. So Kim's next bit of advice was to check with the other cars that were in the parking lot. Did any of those people see a cat? Did a cat get up into their vehicle? Now, they attempted to contact those people by either speaking to them if they saw them getting in their car or putting notes on their windshield, but unfortunately, no one wanted to get involved and they didn't call them. So they were really discouraged at this point. Now, this is right at the point where coronavirus hits us hard. There's a lockdown. This is in New York where there are a lot of cases. It's a very serious situation. So you're going to be restricted from doing the things you normally want to do, like walking around the neighborhood, knocking on people's doors and questioning them, going into other people's yards. that was just not going to happen. So this was another challenge added onto their search for Onion. The next part of the strategy was to put up more posters in areas where those vehicles may have gone after they left the parking lot. So rather than just randomly putting up posters, the owners now had a strategy as to where to go, where people were likely to drive away from that parking lot. So they did that, and they waited and they waited, and they finally got the call that they had been waiting for. Someone thought they saw a cat that looked like Onion. Now, one of the things that this caller said was, "I think I saw your cat," or maybe it was a possum. And Onion's owners were discouraged by that because Onion has a huge bushy tail, and no one would confuse that tail for the bald rat tail of a possum. But still, they were advised by Kim to follow up on any lead. Now, this lead was over a mile away, so it's possible a cat could have walked that far, but it's unlikely. It's more likely if the cat is that far from where they were lost that they got picked up by somebody, whether on purpose or accidentally hitched a ride in a car. We'll never know. But in any case, they went out and they did check out the area. It was an old construction site, kind of dirty junk around. And they went ahead and put up a security camera, which they hid because they can be stolen. So at this point, they had put up over 40 cameras around. These are trail cameras, I believe, that they were using, the kind that people use for hunting or nature photography that are motion activated. Now, they're not as fancy as the security cameras you have at home, but you can put them anywhere. They don't require Wi-Fi. The batteries last a long time, and you can set them up anywhere you want. So they had 42 of these things around any of the sightings that they may have had, just to verify them. Now, at this point, they decided to pull the SD cards from the cameras and have a look and see what they got. And it was just nothing. Other people's cats, raccoons, there were possums at that location. And all of a sudden they see this. And they knew that that was Onion. And that was their first verified sighting that they knew for sure was their kitty Onion. So the owners went back to that site and just watched and waited. And sure enough, at one point they saw Onion out in the open just playing by herself. But when they tried to grab her, she ran away. Now, this is very typical of cats who have gotten out of their safety zone. Some cats will run up to you, but usually they won't. So they enlisted the help of someone who does TNR, who knows how to use humane traps safely and properly. And they went ahead and set those up, and they were able to get her in the trap and get her safely back home. They immediately took her to the vet and got her on a refeeding program because who knows what she had or hadn't been eating for the last 3 weeks. And you want to be careful about letting a starving animal stuff themselves with all the food that they want. So she's doing great. They're refeeding her. They're reintegrating her back into the home. And she is just so happy to be back home with her family. And I want to read this last quote again to give you all hope if you are looking for a missing kitty or other pet. She says, "Throughout this entire ordeal, I sensed Onion was out there alive. Kim gave us the guidance, steps, and tools to find her. It truly does take a lot of work, good sound guidance, and the right search methods. Days later, we still can't believe, against all odds, we actually found our Onion." Thanks again, Kim, for a case solved, and welcome home, Onion.